presentation is an introduction to the methodological and theoretical framework around which my doctoral thesis gravitates. At first, I will inquire the relation of propinquity between artistic labor and immaterial labor. I will look at artistic practices which stage non-artistic material labor and display non-artistic work as artworks. I will outline the terminology of labor and work to understand the state of labor in cognitive capitalism. Thus, artistic labor represent the form of immaterial labor which has the potential for producing antagonistic subjectivities and imaginaries. I will question the political potential of art, which redistributes the visibility of the global distribution of labor, asking whether artistic production might function as a public sphere in which the visibility and invisibility of labor can be renegotiated. To understand the shift from industrial production to service labor, Michael Hart understood that the process of postmodernization and informatization permeated every sphere of production, and it also occurred in artistic production, as the dematerialization of art object claimed by Lucille Part testifies. Immaterial labor embeds the creative, linguistic, and affective skills to produce information, communication, knowledge, relation, networks, imaginaries, forms of community, and subjectivities. One of the skills required by immaterial labor, which is a concept that embraces many forms of labor, is the capacity to manage productive cooperation necessary to the decentralization of production. Artists as well started to coordinate and delegate the labor to others. So both artistic and immaterial labor produce knowledge, affect, and imaginaries. Both are forms of precarious labor, and the artist started to embody the casual worker, the unemployed person, and the person living on the minimum benefit payments. Both artistic labor and immaterial labor are organized in network and flows, which happen in continuous strings of projects. The problem with the theories of immaterial labor is that they risk applying only to specific social groups, while ignoring racial, gendered, and international dimensions of labor. As Dario Lolli underlined, immaterial labor does not erase the materiality of labor, but it simply reorganizes it on a global scale. So, the organization of material labor becomes the affective and informational content of those artistic practices engaging with the ethics and aesthetics of contemporary labor. I will look at a few examples. Dutch artist Jens Hanning, when invited to exhibit at the Kunsthalle de Vleesal in the Dutch resort at the Dutch resort of Middlesbrough on the coast south to Rotterdam, he decided to switch the activities of the Kunsthalle with those of a clothing factory from a neighboring town. So the clothing factory agreed to move its laborers, machineries, and goods to the Kunsthalle and to continue the production there. So once the visitors would enter the exhibition space, they would find 12 workers with migratory backgrounds working with the sounds and the noises of music and sewing machines. Hanning aims to displace and to produce a clash by making the textile industry enter the art institution, and thereof creating a dialogue and an exchange between social, economic, and aesthetics realities. Artist Santiago Sierra, who's very well known for incorporating specific socio-economic categories of laborers in his artworks to perform his minimal sculptures, for the exhibition Protest, Respect, Politik als ästhetische Kategorie, curated by Gianni Jetzer at the Kunsthalle St. Gallen in 2002, hired 6 Albanian refugees without working permits in Switzerland to move 3 concrete blocks measuring 1 square meter across the 7 meters long site of the exhibition room. Artist Mika Rottenberg often portrays absurd and fictional production lines in which mostly female bodies and their fluids are involved into production. For the work Tropical Breeze, the artist portrays the production of moist tissues which take place in the reduced space of a delivery van. The paper towels are perfumed with the real sweat of the driver and packed by a loose-limbed worker in the back of the van through the help of an analog fictional machinery. In the exhibition space, the video of the production of Tropical Breeze could be watched in the setting of Tropical Breeze moist tissues boxes. Artist Maja Bajevic often sets her works in disused textile factories. For the work A20, she outsourced the production and the tanning of the leather necessary for tailoring a dress for a house in Sarajevo. The work portrays in video and photographic documentation factory workers producing and tanning the leather pieces, which are then sewn together and installed on the building by skilled artisans. Pavel Altamer is another artist who's very well known for incorporating immigrant laborers, community members, and even children into his projects. For the exhibition Black Market, which took place at the Neue Riemschneider in Berlin in 2007, the visitor, when entering the exhibition space, could find the artist together with a group of African Poles that he met in Warsaw, hand carving figurines, animals, mask-like faces, and a life-size portrait of the artist in ebony wood. Artist duo Revital Cohen and Tur van Balen, in the work 75 Watts, designed a product whose only function was to be produced. So the object was to be choreographed in a dance performed by the laborers manufacturing it. They set the production line in a Chinese electric factory in Zhongshan, and the video, which portrays the choreographed dance of the workers, is accompanied by the objects produced. Adrian Pazzi, in the work The Column, which was commissioned for the exhibition at the Pavilion of Contemporary Art in Milan and the Jeux de Paume in Paris in 2013, displays the activities of carving of marble to produce a column. So the artist commissioned the production of a marble column to a Chinese company which produces directly on the cargo boat delivering the column to Europe. So the work is composed of a film which displays and portrays the production activities happening on the boat in the middle of the ocean, and the column itself, which was exhibited on a horizontal plate. So all the works analyzed raises questions about the relation existing between artistic labor, the non-artistic labor, and the artworks produced. In a way, the question concerns the racial, gender, class, and international dimensions of labor, which disappear from the social imaginary, and how these dimensions return in the public sphere of art. To better understand the terminology used here, I will look at Hannah Arendt's work, The Human Condition, in which the philosopher inquires the overlooked distinction between labor and work. Arendt defines as labor the activity of the animal laborans, which guarantees the production of the means of subsistence necessary for the reproduction of life. Labor produces consumer goods. In fact, the activity of labor produces and consumes almost at the same pace. On the other side, work is the activity of the Homo faber, which is concluded when the product is finished. Work produces used objects that compose the human world of things. A similar definition emerges in the work of Agnes Heller, who defines work and labor as the two aspects of the same activity of production. In everyday life, Heller individuates two aspects. So, the activities through which individuals reproduce themselves and the activities through which individuals reproduce society. So Heller identifies in labor the activities through which individuals reproduce themselves, while she finds in work the activities through which individuals reproduce society. Arendt identifies the confusion of the two terms in the modern age, since in the modern age, work is performed in a mode of laboring, and the products of work, objects of use, are consumed as though they were mere consumer goods. So the collapse of the two activities misled political theories to use the two terms indistinctively. Yet, Arendt individuates in the artist the only worker left in a society of laborers. But the artist has been taken as a model for the new forms of immaterial labor in cognitive capitalism. In contemporary capitalism, the main productive resources can be found in the linguistic relational attitudes of the human being. Thereof, action and speech, which, according to Arendt, are the activities through which humans form the intangible relational space constituting the public sphere, are subsumed to production, and thereof labor absorb many features of political action. In fact, artistic labor and immaterial labor align, since both require affective and cognitive skills to produce knowledge, affect, relations, and imaginaries. Yet, immaterial labor embeds the affective and cognitive skills of the individual to produce subjectivities, communities, and imaginaries for the reproduction of capital. On the other side, artistic labor can be understood as a form of immaterial labor through which the affective and cognitive skills of the individual have the potential to produce antagonistic knowledge and imaginaries to those of economic utilitarianism. So, when artworks display the materiality of labor, which remains invisible in the public sphere and in the social imaginary, artworks, in a way, become signifiers of technical, textual, organic, historical, formal, mythic, economic, and political dimensions of labor. In a way, artworks redistribute and renegotiate the relation between the visibility of artistic labor in the public sphere of art institutions and the visibility of material production in the social imaginary. So the question is, when the processes of non-artistic labor produce artworks, is the political reinscribed into the product? As Jacques Rancière understands the political potential of art in the redistribution of the visible and invisible, artists can provide a public stage for the private principle of labor. So, since artistic production is both material transformation and society's representation, artistic labor allows the reconfiguration of the distribution of other forms of labor. This leads to my final questions. So, does the political potential of artistic labor emerge in the public sphere of artworks? Can actually artworks and art institutions be defined with the features of the public sphere? Furthermore, do artworks produce antagonistic social narratives and antagonistic imaginaries of labor by parceling the visibility and invisibility of the global organization of production? These are among many questions which lead my current PhD researches. Thank you for listening.